Okay, my outstanding friends, this is really important. I claim that 100% of the chemistry that's done in your body is done by enzymes. They're the only thing that works fast enough because of the catalyst effect that can break down and create products fast enough for life to exist. It will die within 3 or 4 minutes, dead, if you don't have the correct enzymes in your body. And when I say that, I mean a lot of them. There's like 75,000 enzymes they know about, and they're created by bacteria. And one bacteria doesn't create thousands of them. Every bacteria creates a different enzyme. And so you got a ton of bacteria in your body that's just as natural and lives there. If you destroy that bacteria, all kinds of things happen. One of the things that happens is your mood. Literally your mood, your happiness, your sex drive, everything about that. The microbiome is where all of these bugs live to create these enzymes. Diverse community of microorganisms living in the gut linked to mood and emotional well-being through the gut-brain axis. They do not understand this yet. They don't understand the enzymes. The axis facilitates a two-way communication between the gut and the brain, influencing emotional regulation, cognitive function, even mental health conditions, depression, anxiety, all kinds of problems. They're neurotransmitter production. These enzymes produce neurotransmitters. The gut microbiome plays a crucial role in producing neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, which are essential for regulating mood, thoughts, and emotions. 95% of the body's serotonin, called the happiness hormone, is produced in the gut, not the brain. There's nothing produced in your body that isn't produced by enzymes, which are produced by bacteria. That is the bottom line. The gut-brain axis, yes, your gut is making bacterial communities that produce the enzymes. They affect the brain. They affect the myelin sheathing of all your neurotransmitter conductors. I mean, it's a very, very sophisticated system, and it absolutely requires these bacteria to create these enzymes, and the bacteria are being assaulted by the things that we eat, and Kennedy he's on the right path. I would just like to talk to him because they don't understand the enzymes yet. What we need to do is get a database of everybody's fecal bacteria swabs and find out who's high and who's low on certain things. And then if you're low on a serotonin happiness thing, you want to pump it up. I mean, there's just so many. This is extremely obvious when you understand the depth of chemistry related to biology and enzymes. Let's get into it. Okay, this was sent to me by my good friend Roger Dunnigan. And he says, take a look at this. She's on the same target as you. Here goes.
I stand, all psychiatric disorders, all learning disabilities are digestive disorders. And that is the clinical experience of 20 years of work. And that is what's being confirmed now by the new explosion in science, in research in microbiome. That's the scientific name for gut flora. We call
gut flora. It's the gut flora. It's the microbiome. It's the bacteria, the enzymes, the viruses, all the things that live in your gut. Those are the things that do the chemistry in your body. It's not your body that does the chemistry. It's the bacteria.
Called it gut flora for decades, and now the scientists started looking at it finally and called it microbiome. And they're discovering all sorts of things, all sorts of functions that our gut flora fulfills. So gut and psychology syndrome establishes a connection between the functioning of the digestive system and the functioning of the brain of the person, despite the fact that they're far away from each other. And our mainstream medicine doesn't understand this connection. As they give the person antidepressants and antipsychotic pills and anti-epileptic pills, where does the person put those pills in order to affect their brain? Into their stomach. They place it into their digestive system to affect the brain. And still our doctors don't understand the connection. How can the two things be so far apart and be connected? So what kind of conditions are we talking about? Let's start with children. Autism is the most severe disorder. From where I stand, all psychiatric disorders.
Now let me just interject something here. I had to jump back because it jumped out of sequence, but she's talking about taking the pills and they affect your brain. How do the pills going into your stomach affect your brain? Well, they have to get to your brain. How do they get to your brain? They get to your brain through the interstitium. It's a layer, it's a fluid-filled layer that covers the whole body. Everywhere. That's why you take a pill or whatever you're eating or whatever enzyme is being created, it gets into that fluid-filled highway and zip, it's where it's supposed to go almost instantaneously. You take drugs and so they can affect you within seconds, literally, because your microbiome transfers those products into that specific highway. Now, the other part of this is if you don't have the products to put in that highway, they don't go to do the job. You can't get it done. Where do the products come from? They come from bacteria. You say, oh, no, they come from your pancreas, they come from your thymus, they come from your secretions. Well, yes, they're secretions, but the bacteria is what lives in those little factories that create the secretions. It's not that they all of a sudden just pop out of nowhere. The bacteria produce something that's called a ribosome. That ribosome contains an enzyme. The enzyme goes, it pops out where it's needed, and it does work like that. They found that they can do literally millions and even up to billions of years of chemistry within 1 second. These enzymes are so elegant, it never would happen. And this all works into the half-life of atoms, which is something they don't understand either. There's a bazillion half-lives, and they only have 20 or 30 for every isotope. They have isotopes, and then they call them half-lives. They decay up or down. They just don't understand. That's another area they don't understand, is dipole electron flood theory. They have to understand that before they can understand this. It's all based on a dipole electron flood theory. Everything there is based on those two particles. And they move because of magnetism polarities, dipole molecular moments. So I don't want to confuse you, but I'm telling you right now, in order to transfer the chemicals that you need to make your body work, you need the bacteria, the enzymes, and then you need the fluids in your body to be in balance so that they can carry them. The pH has to be right. The amount of fluids in your system have to be okay. You know, all of those things people understand, the salt levels and all that stuff, all works together to transfer these particles around your body. But she's right. 100% of every disease, I don't care what it is, cancer, autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, peanut butter allergies, baldness, I don't care what you have. If you have the correct bacteria in your body, all of those things will correct themselves. All of them. All right, this is what they don't understand, and they still don't understand it. I wasn't the one that discovered interstitium. Scientists say they discovered a newfound human organ. I discovered it in my mud fossils. It's a layer that nobody's ever seen before because they've never seen it in the right way. This is a layer of tissue from a creature, some creature, because the mud fossils led me to this. This is the membrane above and the membrane below and the interstitial fluid-filled highway. This is nothing but fluids in here. All right, it was nothing but fluids. And when they did the autopsies, they drained all the fluids out and it was gone. And they never knew it. They just thought this was one big layer. So now I found it in my mud fossils, and I discussed it with a bunch of autopsy people and people that do fascia, and we came up to the understanding this is a new layer that nobody knew about. And this is in something they published. This is in 2018. My paper was from 2015. But the key to this whole thing is that there's a layer in here. I don't know if they show it in this. You know, let me show you my pictures. All right, I don't mean to brag, but this is just true. I understand this better than anybody. This is fascia-facilitated fossilization. I just showed you the layer that we're talking about, and I called it's a tubular fluid-filled fabric network. I was talking about the fascia, but I didn't realize in 2015 that it was more than just the fascia. The fascia, it was understood as a fabric bag that coats everything. That was understood. But they didn't understand it was a fluid-filled highway that was filled with fluids that by the time they drained the bodies to do the autopsy, it was gone. They didn't even know it was there. And that is the thing, that's the highway that carries all these things around. So I said it's a fluid-filled fabric network. It was never looked at as, nobody researched it. Long been ignored as a subject of research. All right? And I worked with everybody around the world on this. And then about a year later, a big thing came out. Well, we just figured this out. Well, let me just show you that. All right, so don't forget, this is NBC News. They're reporting on this on 2018 when the thing became public that this was a new organ. And this says, listen to this now, understanding the interstitium could be particularly significant in diagnosing and tracking the spread of cancers. This is where they're missing the boat. And other diseases, the spread. They're talking about the spread. They think that's why it's spreading. No, it might spread that way a little bit, but mostly it's that you don't have the right bacteria and enzymes in that layer to stop the spread. So they still didn't understand it. Now, interstitial fluid is the source of lymph. That's the lymphatic system. I've shown this hundreds of times. It dispatches white blood cells, the body's immune system, infection fighters, to wherever they're needed through that fluid-filled highway. Now listen to this. This is 2016. This is a year after my paper. A federal panel of elite scientists reported in 2016 that focusing on the immune system, because this is what it does, could be the key to finding highly effective treatments for cancer. This guy said in an interview that the new research can be seen as parallel to that work. Moreover, because the interstitium is found throughout the entire body, understanding it could have implications for an impossible to predict range of systems from head to toe. Everything in your body is controlled by that interstitium. Interstitium is hiding right under scientists' noses all along. It took an accident to figure out what it really is. Yes, it took looking into mud fossils. There are no pictures of it. There are no illustrations of the construction of it. It's just there. No, there are pictures of it. Here it is right there. That's it right there. I came up with this. I know who this guy is, and I know people that know him, and he took credit for this, and that's okay. I don't care, because nobody would talk to me. Somebody's got to understand. In 2015, doctors called endoscopicists, who peer inside the body using long, flexible tubes or cameras, found something strange when they were using a new technology as a laser. Well, that's fine. My paper was 2015 too. So they're saying that it's some accidental thing. They went in and looked and they found it. Well, that's good. But I found it in my mud fossils long before that. But nobody would talk to me. So at least this guy he's a doctor down in New York, Tice or something like that. And it took him 5 times to try to get somebody to publish it. They said, we're not interested. And that's a doctor. Me, they just laugh. So anyway, let's look at what these things are. These things that we're talking about, these enzymes. All right, let's just start here. There's bad bacteria, absolutely. You get bacteria, it lives in there, and it's still living in there right now in all of us. Almost all of us have a lot of bad bacteria. However, the good bacteria are supposed to keep the bad bacteria in check. And if that starts to overpopulate, they're supposed to stop it. And when something new comes into you that you don't want in you, right away they're supposed to kill it. And these are the bacteria here. Now, they think it's the bacteria. It is not the bacteria. It's what the bacteria produce, which is the enzyme. Let's look into that. All right, so we're showing a whole bunch of bad bacteria, a whole bunch of good bacteria. Well, this is what bacteria primarily are like. And here's what they shoot out, is these ribosomes. Most of them, not all bacteria are the same, but most bacteria, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of species, and every one of them has a different chemical package that it shoots out in the form of a ribosome. They're a little ball. This is one single cell, and these are tiny, tiny little buggers. They have a flagella. They can go shooting through through that fluid-filled highway if they want. Some of them do, some of them don't. Now, and they have a whole bunch of different ways of being triggered, and I'll tell you about trigger in a second. But they have their own DNA, and their own type of DNA says, I am going to make a chemistry set, and it's going to be just like that. Every single time I'm going to squirt it out, and then I'm going to put it in a little tiny ball, and I'm going to call it a ribosome, and I'm going to shoot it out, and it's going to go do a job. Well, what will it do? Let's see about those ribosomes. Okay, there's the ribosomes. They come from here. The DNA shoots out the ribosome, and it's that chain, which I showed you, is going to be a chain of proteins. And there's like 20 or so different proteins that can be linked together, create unbelievable chemistry, absolutely stunning chemistry. And that ribosome programs RNA. RNA is half of the DNA. So here is an enzyme doing its job, and that enzyme is transferase. And the transferase transfers this into the RNA. All right? So the messenger RNA. Now, the messenger RNA goes and says, hey, guess what? I got a new program. Just like coming up and updating your software. It comes up and it clips in using uracil, the little U, and this is your DNA. And RNA comes in and says, hey, I'm going to insert a program into this particular section in your genome. And this is some more enzymes, which is polymerase. Anytime you see an A's on the end, all right, transferase, polymerase, it cuts. It's an enzyme, and if you don't have that enzyme, you can't get in there to program your DNA. You can't get there if you don't have the right enzymes, and the right enzymes here, the right enzymes here, the right enzymes coming out of here, the right ribosomes. Nothing happens. This is an elegant dance, my friends. Elegant. Okay, so what is a ribosome? There it is right there. These little balls, and they're like this. Inside of there is all of that chain. It's a program code. It's really a program code. Now, when that comes out of here, it's so small, these balls, you could fit millions of them in one single human cell. Millions. And still have all the rest of the stuff to make the cell work. Everything else, the little organelles and everything else. So these are just almost, they're so small you never ever be able to see them. Now, they can go through the blood-brain barrier, they can go anywhere they want because they're ribosomes. But once they get to the other side of the blood-brain barrier, right now they can't get things through this restriction. So they give them enzymes and so forth to try to kill these things. They can't get past through that restriction. These just go right up through because they're built by your body. Now, when they get triggered, they unsheath. There's like a plastic bag around this. It goes whoop, and it just goes crazy. And it creates this gigantic molecule of all these little magnetic signatures. And that's all it is thousands of magnetic dipole moments that have to match in a click chemistry environment, and it goes click, and it just wipes out thousands of these other particles instantaneously because it's like electrocution. It's so fast that nobody could ever possibly understand how fast it is. So what do? They create enzymes, or they create proteins. Enzymes break things. They break down your food, they kill invaders. Proteins build your body, but they both come from the same source, from a ribosome out of a bacteria. So if your bacteria is dead, you're in trouble. And what kills your bacteria? Bactericide. Well, what's a bactericide? Well, it's something that kills plants. Well, where would you get that in your body? Guess what? They use it to kill they kill the weeds in the food that you're eating. So when the weeds are around, they spray this stuff all down and they kill the weeds. But it doesn't kill the plants. Well, why wouldn't it kill the plants? It doesn't kill the plants because they genetically modified them to not to worry about that chemical being inside their plant. The plant sucks all that chemical up, which is called glyphosate, Roundup, and it's in there, and then when you eat it, it kills the bacteria in you. There's a million other things out there that kill the bacteria in you too. We should be testing for what bacteria become missing when you add these toxic chemistry. What normal bacteria that should be living in your body goes away. And that's what antibiotics do. Some of the inoculations do that because they're live inoculations and they kill bacteria that's in your body. If you can't fight back, you become sick. And this is the whole deal. You cannot fight back if you don't have these enzymes. And you only have the enzymes if you have the bacteria. Bacteria are the factories that create the enzymes.